Hey guys, Zach Thomas here with 3SOBtv TV. We're talking about our position by position analysis this week, and we end our series with the point guard position. It's no question here. Everybody knows Mike Conley, one of the best point guards in the league. He will be starting for us this year, and we're looking forward to seeing how he can raise his game to the next level and take us all the way to the Western Conference Finals and beyond. But beyond Mike Conley, there's two other guys that are on our bench that we expect a lot out of as well. So I've got a panel here, our 3SOB panel, and we've got Anthony Sane, Cameron Simlar, Chip Crane, and Steve Danziger. So we're going to kick it off here and talk about the point guard position. I think we all know and acknowledge that Jaeger really likes Mike Conley. He likes Nick Calathis, and he unfortunately will not be able to have Nick Calathis for the first 13 games. But Steve, what do you think about the point guard position? How do you see that shaking up beyond the first 13 games once Nick comes back from his suspension, and what can we expect out of those guys?
Now, I might be a little bit unpopular in saying this, but I think I'm troubled. Obviously, Mike Conley is great, and we know what he can do, and we know what he probably will do for us as long as he stays healthy. Knock wood. But behind him, Nick Calathis is someone that I'm kind of unsure of what to expect, because last season he looked pretty darn good before the suspension kicked in. But we also have to take into account how long it took him to get to that point, how long it took him to get comfortable. And we don't know if that's just who he is, that he takes that long to get into a rhythm, or if it was just he was getting used to the NBA, and when he comes back, you can plug him back in, and he'll be all right. So I think that's really troubling, especially when he can't start from day one. He's going to have to start from game 15, or was 13 games he's out?
Yeah.
So starting from that point, it's really going to be tough to get a gauge of who Nick Calathis really is. If he could come back in and start, putting in 5 assists a game and maybe hitting a three-pointer every now and then, sure, that would be nice. But we don't know if he's going to be able to do that right away, because he wasn't able to plug right in last year. And on the other side of it, you got Beno Udrih, who, if this was on Twitter right now, I'd probably be getting roasted. But I'm not the biggest Beno Udrih fan. I'm not sure I see it. He was a different flavor for us coming off the bench, which was great. But I think that's we were so skewed by point guards that can't shoot, and Nick Calathis can play make, he can play defense. Beno was such a different change of pace that he seemed fantastic. But then he was getting torn alive. And, he couldn't keep up with Westbrook. He couldn't keep up with the Thunder. So I think it's really a problem to rely on him so much, and hopefully when Nick comes back, he'll be okay.
Yeah. So, Chip, what do you think about the prospect of Beno actually securing the second point guard off the bench?
I'm sorry. I agree with most of what Steve says, but Nick Calathis started last year slow because he's coming over from Greece. He hadn't played in the NBA. It took him a while to get adjusted to the speed of the game and how what his role was on the team. He knows that now. I fully expect him to come in. It'll take him a few games to get his feet back, but it won't take him half the season. It will take him until November 23rd, apparently. But he's been practicing with the team. He knows his role. He's much better option this year than he was at the beginning of last year, when he had not played anywhere near this level of competition. And the summer with the FIBA, if you watched any of the Greeks games, and I don't know why anyone would have, but I did, he looked really good. He looked really sharp, and I fully expect that to continue. So once we get through the first month and the first 5 weeks of the season, we're going to have a good 1-2 punch at the point guard. We'll have 3 guys who can play the role. I would not be at all surprised to see either Udrih or Calathis move and play some at the 2 against other teams' 2-point guard attacks. The only problem I have is after Conley, we're a little slow.
All right, Shane, what are your thoughts on the point guard position?
Well, I'm kind of like what Steve was saying. I'm a little concerned about our backup point guard position as well. I didn't like what I saw against Houston. Houston's point guards were able to really get into us and really press us a lot. and it caused our backup points to look very uncomfortable. That was Nick Calates and Bino Uda. I'm really banking on Calates. I'm really hoping. Well, I think that all fans should really hope that Calates pans out more than Beno does, simply because of his youth and because of his defense. Because like we saw against the Thunder, Reggie Jackson was eating Beno alive. So I think that what we really want to hope happens is that Calates continues to up the upper. Like his shot was getting better last year. So I think we want to hope that that actually continues to stay going in that positive direction. And because I don't see Beno as being a long-term option at the backup point guard. I don't want to go to the entire season. I'd rather that Calates with that 6'5", 6'6" frame that you can bring that change of pace in with Conley. I think that I'm really hoping that he rises to be the better of the two as the season goes on.
Okay, Cameron, I'm going to ask you this. What do you think about Beno coming in the first 13 games? Do you think that Jaeger's going to basically say, hey, look, Nick, you're suspended, but Beno, if you can prove to me that you can hang with these guys and as our backup point guard, you can run the offense effectively, do you think that he will secure that backup spot? Or do you think that Jaeger's going to say, no, we're still going to keep this open for when Nick comes back?
I think it's going to be open until Nick comes back, because I think personally, Nick is a better option at backup point guard than Beno, although I don't think either one of them are the best, but our options are limited, so I would just keep it open until Nick and have him prove that he can take that spot back from Beno after he comes back from that suspension.
Yeah, and let's talk about this briefly because it's been a topic of conversation in the offseason. We obviously have 13 guys that can be active every game. You've got 14 men on the roster. Nick Calates starts off suspended for the first 13 games, so you won't have to have anybody inactive for the games starting off the season. But that 15th spot, it's been rumored, it's been talked about that we would use that as a third point guard. Third meaning Nick is suspended, so it would be the third after Beno. Do you think, Steve, that that's necessary? Do you think that's what will happen? Where do you fall into that?
I don't think so. I'm not sold on Beno as a long-term option per se, but I think that he'll be at the very least good enough to hold us over until Nick comes back, and then we could evaluate from there, see what we have with Nick, and if we need a different flavor, as Le'Veon called it, at the point guard, then we could go there and we could explore those options. Like Chip said before, it's our slowest position, which isn't ideal, and we could probably use another quick guy, preferably younger, to just go out there and pester people, harass people, because Nick's a great defender, but he doesn't really pester people, full court like some of the Beverleys of the world do. So I think that, if anything, I'd wait till about mid-season and find a guy like that to just bring in from time to time.
I think we agree. Right now it's going to be Mike Conley and then Beno, and then when Nick Calates comes back, I think Nick's probably going to slide back into that 2 spot, or the second option for the point guard off the bench. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be, again, all positions are very competitive. So this is the first year where I've really looked and saw 13, 14 guys that are going to be able to contribute at some point during the season. At least I hope they will be able to. But as we've said, Jaeger's probably not going to play a 13, 14-man or 13-man rotation. So those guys are going to compete in practice. They're going to compete in games. When their opportunity's called, they're going to give it their best shot. And I think that bodes well for the Grizzlies. I think that bodes well for us as fans, because we're going to get to see these guys giving it their all. We've got multiple guys in contract years this year. So I think we're in a good spot. I think that's something that people have kind of underrated when they just, maybe we're not the most flashy on paper, but when you talk about the work ethic and the grit and grind and what we've become, I don't think you can underestimate what these guys are able to do and the chemistry that the team has, and the fact that they enjoy being around each other and they're willing to compete. I think that's going to tell and do wonders for this season, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. So we thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for being here on our panel. Steve, Chip, Cameron, and Anthony. Man, it's been fun. I've enjoyed talking about each position with you guys. I hope you all watching have enjoyed this. And that's it for the position analysis. Now it's time to lace them up, throw up the ball, and let's play some basketball. So we'll see you around on 3 Shades of Blue TV. Thank you guys for watching.